friends, it's Rana, and today I'll be talking about all the books that I've read in the month of October. I know that it is halfway through November. I filmed this wrap up to be up on the last day of October. It turned out that my mic wasn't recording and the video didn't has any audio in it, so I decided to refilm the wrap up, got busy, didn't film it, and here we are. Halfway through November. In October, in total, I've read 6 books, all physically or in ebook format. I didn't listen to any audiobooks in October, which I really miss doing a lot. Anyway, the first book that I finished in the month of October is House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. House of Leaves follows Johnny, a young man who works and lives in LA. He works in a tattoo shop. And one day, his friend tells him about this blind man called Zampino who recently passed away. So they go together to this blind man's apartment to snoop around, and there Johnny finds a heap of paper that turns out to be a manuscript written by Zampino. This manuscript turns out to be an analysis of a homemade documentary-style movie shot by a photographer called Navidson, documenting his moving process with his family to a new house where weird things starts happening there. We follow 2 timelines, Navidson's and Johnny's. Navidson's is through his story in the manuscript, and Johnny's through his footnotes that he added to the same manuscript. I had really high hopes for this book. I even thought that I might give it 5 out of 5 stars, but that didn't happen for many reasons, mainly because it was boring at times and hella confusing at other times. If you want, I made a separate review video for House of Leaves, spoiler free of course, if you would like to know more about my thoughts on this book. In the end, I give this book 3 out of 5 stars. I can see and understand why this book has many conflicting reviews. Many people really love this book, at the same time many people really hate it. I myself fell in the middle, really liking it, but confused by many things in it, and I need more answers for many things. The next book I finished is The Unseen World by Liz Moore. This book follows Ada, a teenage girl who was raised by her single father, David, who directs a computer science lab in the 1980s. He homeschooled Ada in his unique and different way, and Ada doesn't really have many friends her age. She doesn't really have any friends her age. All the people she knows are her father's friends and colleagues. Suddenly, her father's brain falters and he is diagnosed with Alzheimer. He starts forgetting many things, including his daughter, but he leaves her a last riddle for her to solve to reveal his mysterious past. David is put in a home to be taken care of, and Ada is taken by to live in her father's friend and neighbor, who is also a single mother of 3 boys. After her father loses his memory, many things turns out to be lies told by him, including their surname. It turned out to be a lie. It is not their surname. So Ada tries to solve the riddle with the help of her father's friends and colleagues to find out the real past of her father that he kept secret all these years. I really like this book and the characters, and I loved reading about them, but what kinda ruined it a little bit for me is the reveal of her father's past. I was expecting something more than that, something more shocking, but it felt flat in the end. I still enjoyed this book and loved the ending. It is just the reveal that I didn't like. I, after all, went ahead and give it 4 out of 5 stars because I love the character so much, so that I ignored the reveal in the end. The next book that I read is Dumb Witness by Agatha Christie. This is my first time reading a Hercule Poirot book. It is about a rich lady who sends a letter to Detective Hercule telling him that she suspects that one of her relatives is trying to kill her after an accident of her falling down the stairs, supposedly because she walked on her dog's ball, which caused her to fall down the stairs. But she is very suspicious of that. That's why she sends her letter to Hercule. After reading the letter, Hercule decides to go and give her a visit with his assistant, but when they arrive at her house, they find out that she passed away from natural causes. Of course, Hercule doesn't believe that she died of natural causes. That's why he goes on a series of investigations to find out how she actually died. I enjoyed this book a lot. I didn't expect it to have a sense of humor in it, but it has. It was very enjoyable and fun to read, and it makes your brain work to find out who is the murderer. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Next, I finished The Green Mile by Stephen King. This is the first part out of 6-part novel. I finished this first part reading it physically, then I completed the novel on ebook format. This one follows a prison guard called Paul who works in E block of Cold Mountain Prison where death row inmates reside. He tells us his everyday life in prison after a black man called John Coffey comes in with the murder of two sisters in cold blood. Paul tells us John's story, how he got caught, his time in prison, and how he eventually gets executed, all while telling us other events that happens in the prison with other inmates. It's been exactly 1 year since the last time I've read anything by Stephen King. I have a love-hate relationship with Stephen King's books. I either really like them or really hate them. There's no in between, but The Green Mile is definitely one of his better works. I enjoyed The Green Mile. It was a very good book and a weird one too. It was intriguing, emotional, and scary in a different way than usual. A very unique book, and I can see why it is very hyped. Even the movie is very hyped and is considered one of the best prison movies out there. I have yet to watch it, but I give The Green Mile, the book, 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I finished was a reread, and it is The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse by Charlie Mackesy. Oh, how much I love this book. It is made up of gorgeous illustration and handwritten by the author. It is full of love, warmth, and jokes about cake. It is, as the title indicates, it is about a boy, a mole, a fox, and a horse all together go on a journey to the unknown while talking to each other in a beautiful and quotable words. I just love this book so much and want to gift it to all of my friends if I could. It is just perfect or near perfect because the handwritten font was sometimes hard to read, but otherwise perfect. I just adore it with all of my heart, and I obviously gave it 5 out of 5 stars. And the last book I finished is The Tattooist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris. The Tattooist of Auschwitz is based on the true story of Lali Sokolov, a Slovakian Jew who was imprisoned in Auschwitz, and how he became the tattooist there to tattoo the numbers on his fellow prisoners' arms. In Auschwitz, he meets this girl called Gita who he madly falls in love with. They take us with them trying to be in love and to stay alive, while at the same time trying to survive the camp and the war. I am a sucker for a good historical fiction about the Second World War, and it is true that this book is based on a true story, and books based on true stories usually hit harder, but this didn't happen here. The story of Lali and Gita is an amazing story and is very important to be told, but the writer Heather Morris didn't do a good job writing it. Her writing style doesn't suit a historical fiction book. She just tells us that this happened, then he said that, then that happened, without having any emotions or impact in the story, which made me feel detached from the characters who felt like fictional, soulless characters rather than characters based on real human beings. The story is there, but it wasn't well written. It was very simplistic and flat, and it failed to make us believe that this story is of people, of real people who lived through all that madness, which was very disappointing. Lali could have found a better writer to write his story, but he ended up with this, and I unfortunately gave it a solid 3 out of 5 stars, and may his soul rest in peace. So that's it for today's wrap up. I hope you liked it. Please subscribe to see my future videos, and I will see you next time. Bye!